Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in the discussion of compliance and AML. Again, my name is Mifrah Batool, and I am the AML, KYC, and Compliance Specialist at D&B South Asia Middle East. We have the pleasure of speaking with Felix Chan, the Worldwide Business Development Director at D&B International. Today, we're discussing a specific topic of compliance and AML. We're discussing enhanced due diligence. So, Felix, without further ado, I'm just going to pass the torch on to you.
Yep.
Um,
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's me again. I'm Felix, based in Hong Kong. As Mira said, I'm the compliance director based in Hong Kong. So, yeah, thanks for inviting me to talk about the enhanced due diligence today. So, I know that you guys might be very interested in learning about like what is enhanced due diligence. But before I start, I think I should explain a little bit about like customer due diligence as a whole, because like enhanced due diligence or EDD can be treated as a subset of this customer due diligence, CDD, where EDD is probably a more thorough form of CDD, more comprehensive, complete. CDD is a process where corporations assess the money laundering risks associated with a proposed business relationship. The CCD assessment should be able to identify the customer and verify the customer's identity using reliable source documents and information. And for business, it should identify the like beneficial owners and
mhm,
take responsible measure to verify the identities of the beneficial owner and of course the directorships and other kind of related parties. And after
mhm,
knowing the customer, it should then understand and obtain information on the purpose and intent nature of the business relationship.
right.
When the corporations conduct the initial stage of the CDD process, they should be able to determine the extent of CDD measures to be applied, which means like basically means that risk-based approach should be applied when conducting CDD measures, and the extent of CDD measures should be commensurate with the risk associated with a business relationship. Where the risks are high, they should then conduct EDD measures, and the amount and type of information obtained and the extent to which this information is verified should be increased in EDD measures.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Felix, for the answer. And why do you think EDD is specifically important for, let's say, bankers and DNSBPs?
Yep, I think for this question, we can take it into two parts, like which is basically why CDD and EDD is important, and then
Right.
why a risk-based approach for CDD is important, right? Because when you talk about why EDD is important, basically you are talking about why you need to do CDD, and then
Right.
why in some time like EDD is important because of like what I mentioned, we need to adopt a risk-based approach for that. So this
Mhm.
essentially will explain why EDD is important and necessary. So
Right.
answering the first question is very simple. When you consider what's at stake, like it's very easy to understand why banks, other financial institutions, and
Mhm.
designated non-financial business professional are treating AML compliance and CDD program with the utmost importance. Criminals that are seeking to transfer illegal funds must find some ways to introduce those funds into the legitimate financial system by
Right.
considering the identities as a way to avoid like AML controls. Financial institution like definitely play a very critical role here because uh, but the designated non-financial business professionals like the DNF BPs also provide services that usually facilitate this fund transfer process. Therefore,
Right.
all these corporations need to protect themselves against potential reputational or operational risk and business fraud. CDD provides them with a way to identify those suspicious individuals or entities and deploy suitable compliance measures against them in order to prevent financial crimes.
Mhm.
Corporations also need to comply with like laws and regulations to avoid a
Right.
massive fine from the regulators, right? So
Right.
enforcement actions related to AML has been like on the rise. There are like 55 money laundering fines issued in 2021. I think totally approximately maybe 1.6 billion US dollars. So that's a lot of
Right.
money.
And
Yeah,
that's just within
regulations.
the last year.
Yeah, that's just within
Right.
last year, but of course it is across the globe. But regulations, we also see the regulations that targets the DNF BPs
Hmm.
are also starting to be established around the world. So not just the financial institution, I think fine is going to come to this kind of professional firm as well. And besides
Right.
looking at this purely from the risk and compliance perspective, corporations having a good CDD program can actually provide a better customer experiences and help them understand their clients better. This in turn
Hmm.
allows them to know what types of service and products are more suitable for the clients. And
Right.
then yeah, this kind of summarize what I think that is the answer for the question ones. And then now for the second part of why a risk-based approach for CDD is important. So
Yeah.
basically, like risk-based approach (RBA) is at the foundation of global best practice approaches to combating money laundering and terrorism financing. And the
Right.
principles of risk-based financing, risk-based approach, is to focus your resources where they are most needed to manage risk within your tolerance level. And you have to determine what's acceptable for you, taking into account the nature for each product, service, the geographical regions where you do your business, and also the relationship you have with your clients. Allow
Right.
BA to mitigating and managing risk means the corporation can focus on the outcomes that the regulations is intended to achieve, which is preventing money laundering, terrorism financing, and other serious financial crimes, rather than
Yeah.
complying with just a checklist of requirements, tick box, and things like that.
Yeah.
The benefits of like this approach, RBA, are that corporations can target resources to the area of highest risk, ensuring compliance costs are proportionating to the risk faced, so a more
Right.
efficient and effective use of resources can be achieved. And then it can also minimize the impact on clients and the compliance costs. And this approach, RBA, also offers greater flexibility to corporation to respond to new and emerging risks as like money laundering and terrorism financing methods changes.
Right. So did you want to maybe just take a moment and tell us exactly what the process of EDD is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can't really give a very like official advice here, but I would
Of
just
course.
give overall understanding of what I have uh, listened or what I've learned from all the corporation around the world. Like first of all, is
Mhm.
all start with doing the initial onboarding when you're talking about doing CDD or EDD. You do the initial onboarding, then you need to do a name screening, check whether there are sanctions, PP, etc. Do
Mhm.
KYC and the CDD, the regular CDD process. And
Right.
then when there are circumstances where the risk of money laundering or terrorism financing is higher, then
Right.
EDD measures may be taken. You need to take greater control. You need to examine in more details of that customer and that relationship. Then
Right.
you may ask like how do we determine which scenarios or circumstances that we think we need to take the EDD measure or within the risk is considered higher. Then basically it all boils down into whether there are some risk factors in the customer,
Right.
country, product, service, transactions, or delivery channel that are unusual, unexplainable, or just very weird. Like
Mhm.
when you think about using a common sense, sometimes like the customer relationship or the transaction pattern or something just doesn't click, right? So that is
Right.
the moment I think you can consider you should use a EDD. But of course, there are many resources and guidelines online
Right.
published by many regulators or professional bodies. So I'm not going to like really explain all scenarios or
Of
how do you
course.
determine when the risks are higher. But a lot of corporations should also have internal policies and
Right.
documentations
Right.
instructing the officers or the professional on when EDD should be carried out. So that
Mhm.
is this that all these clear policy and procedures to be followed
Yes.
for those professional to really determine when EDD need to be done. So now let's
Right.
assume you have conducted the CDD process and determined that, okay, you need the EDD measures for this particular customer. The
Right.
process involved is always about obtaining additional information and verification compared to the standard process. For example, you want to carry out additional searches and obtain additional identifying information from more
Mm-hmm.
resources, like
Right.
third-party resources, and then to have a more comprehensive customer risk assessment. And directly to the customer, you may want to seek additional information from them about the purpose and the intended nature of the business relationship, and probably verify the source of funds or wealth involved in the relationship, and to be satisfied that, like, all these things, to satisfy that they are not constituting the proceeds from crime, not using something
Mm-hmm.
malicious or suspicious, etc. And then finally, approval should be obtained from the senior management to establish or continue this business relationship that, like, you deem having a higher risk. So when you think about that, like, EDD all come down to having this extra layer of information, verification, confirmation, and approval process, so that you can say it's giving you the comfort that showing you have tried your best, you have done your best to know the
Mm-hmm.
most about those high risk cases, and that's
Right.
what I think is necessary when you need to do, and the process of doing EDD.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
basically, go with your first instinct and just follow through with the policies that are already in place to help you in that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I heard
Right.
from all the customers, like sharing their feedback and learning to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And how does D&B help in all of this for our customers?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, DNB is we are kind of one of the largest commercial data providers, right? We
Mm-hmm.
understand the importance of doing CDD or an EDD or just regular KYC to our client operations, and also the
Right.
corresponding challenge in doing so. So, we actually can help our clients improve their customer service experience during the onboarding process by reducing the need for them to ask unnecessary questions to their potential customer, like, okay, what's your website, or what's phone number, what's your industry, all these very basic questions that actually you can get all this data from us. We allow clients to meet like customer due diligence requirements and identify beneficial owners as well. So it's more like a higher level required for the CDD or EDD process. Where it's also like implement a risk-based and sensitive approach by providing world-class content accessible in different channels. So when you are talking about you need to do EDD or CDD, let's say you have a medium risk client or high risk customer, then probably you want to, like what I mentioned earlier, you want to have a third party sources that to confirm what you have collected so far are correct, is aligned, it reconcile what you have seen so far. So that is the purpose of how we can help. So remember,
Gotcha.
when I talk about the principle of CDD and EDD measures, it's always better to like collect information from more robust data sources, which
Right.
like D&B Data Cloud contains over 455 million entities data and 550 million shareholders and directors information across the world to support our clients' compliance need and be the trusted third-party data source. So that is
Right.
something that is only from us with this scale and with this amount of data can actually help our customer. And also
Right.
one part of the CDD or EDD process I did not cover is the ongoing monitoring. And based
Mm-hmm.
on the information obtained during the process, our corporation should be able to finalize the customer risk assessment, which determines the level and type of ongoing monitoring need. So as the customer risk profile will change over time, they should review and update the risk assessment of our customer from time to time, particularly during
Right.
ongoing monitoring. So when you think
Mm-hmm.
about that, when you have a high risk customer, maybe your frequency of doing the ongoing monitoring need to be maybe monthly or quarterly, semi-annually, but for lower risk customer, maybe every 3 years, every 5 years, something like that. But
Mhm.
without ongoing monitoring, you never know what kind of risk level they actually are up to this particular day, or whether they have some new alerts being coming up. You won't do some refresh about them. So that's not what we consider the most comprehensive program in
Mhm.
the compliance operation. So I would strongly suggest like ongoing monitoring as a very key element in a CDD and EDD process as well. So to establish a good ongoing monitoring procedure, technology and data are very critical. D&B data like can be delivered to our clients through API or web application with monitoring enabled, and then
Mhm.
automated and streamlined workflow, and all these system integration are really necessary to increase this efficiency and reduce the cost of ongoing monitoring or
Mhm.
receiving alerts, something like that. So this way, the corporation can really focus their resources on tasks that require more human intelligence. So I
Right.
think in the essence of just doing initial onboarding, doing CDD and EDD, from time to time when you need to do ongoing monitoring, alerting, or even maybe just do a batch refresh, like the data that DMB can provide can definitely help you during all this process and the compliance operation that I just mentioned.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you so much, Felix.
yeah,
That actually answers a lot of the questions that I had about EDD and why
yeah,
I think it's important for businesses worldwide to be more careful when onboarding both clients and vendors.
hmm,
Um, just as an overview of why the risk-based approach is so important in this day and age, also was emphasized in this talk. So thank you very much
yeah,
for your time and specifically for all the efforts that you've put into these webinars with me. Thank
yeah.
you so
No
much
worry.
for that.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.